Hello everybody and welcome to Gaming with Zombie. Zombie here, and it's been a really long time. Realistically, probably far too long for anybody to actually still be paying attention to this channel. And I can't really blame you for that. That's really loud. Why? That's better. That's more tolerable. So realistically, it's been a year. Just shy of a year since my last video. I have a couple of videos that I could have uploaded, and mostly just chose not to. I don't know, I may still release those just for shits and giggles, but at this point, there's nobody really watching anymore. So, what am I doing? Well, I don't know, to be honest. Sometime last year, YouTube made the choice to basically demonetize every video that didn't basically if a video wasn't making enough money for YouTube to pay out, YouTube was no longer going to acknowledge those videos in a very general sense, and that kind of sucked. So I guess I sort of just was discouraged. I was in a bad place mentally anyway, so I just didn't really see a point to it. But in the intervening year, I sort of missed creating content, even if it wasn't necessarily making good content or making content that people actually even watched. It was just a thing that I sort of missed doing, so I'm probably going to go back to that. And I really enjoyed my storytelling format. By the way, we're currently watching my game of Idle Champions play out. It's a really fun game. It's free. There are in-app purchases if you want, but me, I'm a gigantic D&D nerd. I freaking love D&D far, far too much. Actually, these guys are in the wrong spots. Elon needs to go up there. You can go here. You can move here. You can move here. We'll go ahead and unlock him. So, this is mostly a backdrop, and it's sort of affiliated with what I wanted to talk about today. So, a lot of what I've been doing in the past year or so, I've been watching a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and I've gotten more involved in my D&D stuff, even though I haven't necessarily been playing very much recently. It's still something that's been on my mind. So I'm wanting to change up the channel a little bit, and I think I'm going to take a direction towards posting more D&D related content. Stories from campaigns that I've played, and I'm actually trying to set up a campaign or two to run and record and post those as well, because that's something that I really enjoy, and I think that there are people out there who would also enjoy it. But yeah, so some of my favorite characters that are in this game are recent releases. There's one named Strix and one named Evelyn, or Evelyn. I think it's Evelyn. I always forget. Anyway, though, they're from a show I greatly enjoyed called Dice Camera Action. They can be found on Twitch, on the Dungeons and Dragons channel, and they're an excellent game. A lot of very good role players. I'm really hoping that they'll put the rest of the Waffle Crew, which is what their little group is called, I'm hoping that they'll put the rest of them in the game, because I like them a lot. Level up. So, in terms of continuing the channel, that's a good word, for the future, that's sort of what I think my focus is going to be. I'll probably do some game stuff still, but, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. So, anywho, the other thing I was going to do with this episode, I was basically just going to tell a little story. So I play a lot of D&D in my past. I am not currently, right now. Hold on, smoke. Still smoking a lot of hookah. That's healthy, right? I'm sure it is. I've played a lot of D&D, and I have a lot of very fun characters, and one of the best things about D&D in my mind is that your characters are what you want them to be, but they're usually flavored to some degree with yourself. So one of my favorite characters of all time was a bard named Barbones. And Barbones was undead. He was an overdue bard. Obitus are a custom class or a custom race that are basically positive energy undead. So kind of a weird one, but I really like weird races. And this was a home game, so if you run D&D and you're like, that's not how that would work, shut the fuck up, no one cares. Everybody runs their home games differently, and that's fine. That's the joy of it, is that they can be run however you want to run them. So in this game, I'm going to skip pretty far ahead because this is one of my favorite stories of all time. There are a couple of things you need to know, though. Undead tend to be immune to a lot of shit. For example, they would be immune to instant kill items, such as cursed rings, cursed amulets, things of that nature, that when you put them on, they kill your character. Now, what's neat about a lot of those is oftentimes you can't take those items back off. That's part of the curse. You die, then it falls off because the curse has been applied, and then the item can be cursing other people. Or at least that's kind of how we played it. Maybe I could have taken them off. I don't really remember. I never paid attention, but why would I? So I was basically the item tester for our group because I was immune to so much shit that, I could say, look, I'm still alive, and then we could check the item. And I was always very brash in putting things on myself, and that's just how I play my characters, because I'm a dumbass. So, by the end of our campaign, I had accumulated probably 10 cursed items. I literally was a walking curse. I had a weird cursed jewel that I kept in my head because I didn't have eyes. So I kept this rainbow jewel in my eye socket that let me project stuff. I had 5 or 6 instant kill cursed items. I had, and this is very important for the story, I also had a cursed intelligent sword. And it wasn't necessarily Frostmourne, but it was as close to Frostmourne as you were going to get inside of a Dungeons & Dragons home campaign. That was not taking place in the WoW universe. It was a cursed, intelligent sword that was evil. I, as a character, was lawful good. Did it always play out that way? Probably not so much, but I played lawful good in terms of what this skeleton who knew nothing of the outside world would assume lawful good was. Everything was for the greater good. So maybe that's something else, but whatever. Like I said, home game runs differently. Shut up. So, along this adventure, we ended up getting this non-player character that was added to our party, who I kind of resented because they took the place of our other non-player character, who I became very good friends with. His name was Mork the Orc, and he was awesome, and I loved him. He was a nice orc, and unfortunately for Mork the Orc, my cursed sword took over my body, as cursed swords are wont to do. And of course, I didn't have a fucking modifier to protect me from that. I was dumb. I never build characters worthwhile. I build characters that hit hard or are very funny. That's it. That's it for me. So I was forced to kill Mork the Orc, and I was very upset, and I ended up keeping his skull and I had somebody animate it because I was very upset and I wanted my friend back. So I kept this orc skull that was alive and just constantly just gnawing, just chewing. Sometimes I would use him as a weapon and just like slam his chewy face onto someone else's head, have him bite them for shits and giggles. So this new NPC that we got, I never really cared for him a lot. He had a tendency to cast invisibility and maybe help during fights. You know, sometimes he was there and he would send out a lightning bolt, but he wasn't exactly careful about who he hit with that shit. So he had hit me before. Needless to say, not a happy camper. So we finish our campaign. Literally, we just downed the final boss. And we're all celebrating, and in this final boss fight, at the end of this final boss fight, I confronted the new NPC, who I can't even remember their name. They were a fucking sorcerer. So I confronted them, and I'm like, you piece of shit, you fucking hit me with a lightning bolt in this fight. Where the fuck were you for most of this? You know, we were all out here almost dying. Where the fuck were you at? And the DM, God, he's such a good DM, and he's so nice to put up with all my bullshit. That's very important. So nice to put up with all my bullshit. So basically, it comes to blows. I attack this NPC, and this NPC turns into a dragon. I'm like, oh, okay, so he can shapeshift. Whatever, that's not... whatever. Turns out he was actually a dragon. He was in a human form while he was hanging out with us. But no, he was actually legitimately a dragon. And I didn't know. And I basically went one-on-one with a pissed off dragon who didn't like my sass. Needless to say, I was not at full health because we had just finished a boss fight. This dragon picks me up in his mouth and takes a big old good bite, which killed me outright, just instantly, one bite. Now, if you know anything about undead, what happens when an undead hits 0, they don't have a constitution score. Instead, undead die when they hit 0. And this is very important. Not only do they die, but they turn to dust. So they completely dissipate. So this happened to me inside of this dragon's mouth. Now, what made it so amusing, though, is there was that one little tidbit that I guess the DM maybe forgot about at the time that I hadn't really thought of or planned, but I'm wearing like a dozen cursed items, half of which are instant kill cursed items. So when I die, all of my cursed items fall into this dragon's mouth. And due to the mechanics of cursed items wanting to be worn, basically it counted as him wearing them because they were on him. Basically the thought was something would have gotten onto a tooth and that would basically be wearing it. You know, the DM was also humoring us. So the dragon instantly dies. I basically suicide bombed a dragon? And yeah, so the dragon dies. And the DM is like, by the way, well, Mikey. He calls me Mikey. By the way, hi, my name's Mikey. I don't think I've ever said that, but yeah, that's my actual name. By the way, turns out that cursed sword of yours, it's kind of a phylactery for you. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, it turns out that my cursed sword was basically the equivalent of a phylactery, so I was a lich. And if you know anything about liches, that means that even though I died because my phylactery was not damaged, it turns out that I was regenerating, and I was going to come back, but the dragon was super duper dead. And that was the end of that game. That's how I found out that I was in fact a lich. I was a lich bard, mind you. And I killed a dragon all by my lonesome. So yay for me. Anywho, that was my dragon story. Good times. I missed that game. It was a very fun game. But yeah, so that's about it for this video. I just wanted to share a little story, give a little update, talk a little smack, and show you Idle Champions, which it's free. It's on Steam. I think they're actually releasing a phone version for it as well, but I don't know if that's out yet. But you can definitely play this. If you're curious about some of these characters, pretty much every character that's in this game is somebody important in the D&D lore, or is from somebody's game that ended up becoming very, very popular, and they became well-known characters, and they got put in. So Minsk was somebody important, and he was in somebody's D&D game, and then became in a book. You've got the Force Grey, a couple of the other folks, the the Waffle Crew that are in here, and probably some of the other ones, and I don't even know who they are, but that's because I wasn't watching those games. So if you like D&D content, if you're interested in things of that nature, make sure to subscribe. Come back, take a look, see what we end up doing. We may do stuff, we may not do stuff. It depends on what y'all are interested in. So anyway, thank you all for listening, watching, I don't know, still being subscribed to the channel after a year of no content. Either way. And we'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye!